The body has a different idea. Medicine has rules. Certain injuries kill. Certain exposures kill. Certain temperatures kill. The human body occasionally ignores all of them. Not often, but often enough that the cases are documented, studied, and still not fully explained. We're going through the most extreme documented survival cases ranked by how far outside the medical rulebook they sit. Vesna Vulovic, 33,000-foot fall. In 1972, a Yugoslav Airlines plane exploded over Czechoslovakia. A flight attendant named Vesna Vulovic was inside the tail section when it detached and fell 33,000 feet. She was the only survivor. She hit a snow-covered mountainside and survived. She had multiple fractures, a fractured skull, 3 broken vertebrae, and was in a coma for 27 days. She was partially paralyzed and recovered. She later said she was afraid of nothing because nothing worse could ever happen to her. The terminal velocity of a human body in freefall is roughly 120 miles per hour. She hit the ground at that speed inside a metal tube and lived. No parachute, no airbag, no protection. Just snow, slope angle, and luck that medical science cannot fully account for. Aron Ralston, 127 hours. In 2003, a boulder shifted and pinned Aron Ralston's right arm in a Utah canyon slot. He was alone. Nobody knew where he was. He had food for a day and water for less. He stayed pinned for 127 hours. On the 5th day, realizing he would die there, he broke his own arm against the boulder deliberately and amputated it below the elbow with a cheap multi-tool that barely cut rope. He then rappelled down a 60-foot wall, hiked 8 miles through desert heat, and was found by hikers who happened to be in the canyon. He had lost 40 pounds. He was severely dehydrated. His arm had been dead for days. Surgeons later said the tourniquet he fashioned from his camelback tubing was the reason he didn't bleed out during the hike. He had no medical training. He did it on instinct and desperation. The medical window for surviving what he did closed before he started the hike out. He did it anyway. Anna Bagenholm, clinically dead. In 1999, a Norwegian medical student named Anna Bagenholm went through ice while skiing and was trapped under a frozen stream for 80 minutes. Her core body temperature dropped to 56.7 degrees Fahrenheit. At 77 degrees Fahrenheit, the heart typically stops. Hers stopped. When she reached the hospital, she had no cardiac activity, no brain activity, and a body temperature so low that the resuscitation team almost didn't try. They tried anyway. After 3 hours of resuscitation, her heart restarted. She recovered almost fully. She later became a radiologist. The case changed the medical understanding of hypothermic cardiac arrest. The new rule became you are not dead until you are warm and dead. Roy Sullivan, Lightning X7. Roy Sullivan was a park ranger in Virginia who was struck by lightning 7 times between 1942 and 1977. Each strike should have killed him. Combined, they burned off his eyebrows, set his hair on fire multiple times, blew off a toenail, burned his legs, chest, stomach, and shoulder. He survived all 7. The odds of being struck by lightning once in a lifetime are roughly 1 in 15,000. The odds of being struck 7 times are a number so small it has no practical meaning. Sullivan's body survived things that would have killed most people on the first strike. He became known as the human lightning rod and was listed in the Guinness Book of Records. He claimed the lightning followed him deliberately. The science has no better explanation for the 7-time part. In 1848, a construction foreman named Phineas Gage was tamping explosives into rock when the charge detonated. Phineas Gage, rod through brain. A 13-pound iron rod, 3.5 feet long and over an inch in diameter, was launched through his left cheek, behind his left eye, through his frontal lobe, and out the top of his skull. He was thrown backward. The rod landed 25 meters away. He was conscious within minutes. He spoke to a physician an hour later. He lived for another 12 years. The rod destroyed a significant portion of his prefrontal cortex, which produced documented personality changes, but left his memory, language, and most cognitive function intact. A metal rod passed through his brain at high velocity. He gave a statement about it the same day. Wim Hof, extreme cold. Wim Hof is a Dutch man who has been buried in ice for nearly 2 hours, run a half marathon above the Arctic Circle barefoot, and climbed to 24,000 feet on Everest wearing only shorts. Laboratory studies confirmed that he can consciously influence his autonomic nervous system, specifically his immune response, in ways that medical science previously classified as impossible. Injected with bacterial endotoxins that should have produced a strong fever response, he produced almost none. Multiple replicated studies showed he could suppress inflammatory immune responses through breathing techniques and concentration alone. The autonomic nervous system was classified as not consciously controllable for over a century of medical textbooks. Wim Hof rewrote one section of that classification. The Frozen Girl, Erica Nordby. In 2001, a 13-month-old Canadian girl named Erica Nordby wandered outside in minus 24 degrees Celsius temperatures in the middle of the night. Her heart stopped. Her core temperature dropped to 61 degrees Fahrenheit. Surgeons rewarmed her blood outside her body using a heart-lung machine. Her heart restarted after 90 minutes with no cardiac activity. She survived with minimal lasting damage. Children survive extreme hypothermic cardiac arrest at higher rates than adults for reasons still not completely understood. Their metabolic rate drops faster. Their oxygen consumption drops faster. Their brains tolerate the cold better. The body is doing something during severe hypothermia that keeps the tissue viable past the point where it should not be. The pattern? Strip the headlines off every case on this list, and the pattern underneath is the same. The body has emergency systems that most people never encounter, and medicine is still cataloging. Hypothermia slows metabolism to a crawl, buying time that looks like death from the outside. The brain can tolerate oxygen deprivation longer than the textbook numbers suggest when core temperature is low enough. Pain suppression and adrenaline allow functional behavior past injuries that should produce immediate incapacitation. The frontal lobe, it turns out, is not the most essential thing in the skull when it comes to basic survival. What these cases share is not luck. They share a biological margin that exists in every human body and almost never gets tested this hard. Most people will never find the edge of what their body can actually do. These people found it and came back with the data. Conclusion: none of these cases are recommendations. Nobody should go looking for the edge. The margin that saved Vesna Vulovic existed in hundreds of other passengers on that plane who didn't survive. The coal that kept Anna Bagenholm's brain alive kills most people who enter it. Ralston's survival depended on a combination of decisions, luck, and physiology that would not replicate reliably for anyone else who tried the same thing under the same conditions. What the cases are is evidence. The body's failure point is not a sharp line. It is a range. The outer boundary of that range is significantly further than medicine knew it was before the people on this list tested it without meaning to. They didn't set out to demonstrate anything. They set out to ski, to hike, to go to work. The body's emergency systems activated, performed beyond specification, and brought them back. Most of what those systems are doing is still being worked out. The cases are the data. The explanation is still being written.